Hi, this is Jim Tremaine from DJ Times Magazine. I'm sitting here in New York and I'm reaching out to Matthew Chicoine of Roland. And where are you calling from today, Matt?
Hey, Jim. I'm in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia.
Okay. And I guess things are similar where you are as they are here in New York.
Uh, well, I've been in this little bubble for a month, so it's hard to say. But from what I'm seeing in the news, it's a lot more difficult, I think, where you are. Um,
Um,
but,
Perhaps, yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah, it's been a strange run, that's for sure. But we're holding it down best we can. DJ Times is still working. We're doing a lot of online content. Still prepping for DJ Expo, hopefully for August. And I know you guys have not stopped working. What is your day to day? You're a strategic product marketing manager, I believe that's your title. What does that entail?
well, I do a number of things. I work with the engineers in developing new product ideas and marketing plans around those and trying to bridge, I guess, the development process with the kind of marketing side of it as well early on. And then bringing those products to market, creating, content and working with our sales units to create marketing materials around that as well. Um, but at the same time, it's a job that kind of allows me to be a jack of many trades and a master of none. But
Yeah, well, you're someone with a DJ and production background, which makes you very qualified for your job. And you're somebody that, whose work I knew before you started working at Roland and probably before you even worked for that other company in New Zealand. Um, so what does your background bring to your job with Roland?
um, I think having worked as a DJ and a producer for full time for about 15 years, and then also I was a teacher for 6 years, teaching the same craft, music production and DJing. That's, I think, helped in bringing sometimes out of the box thinking and different ideas to the table. That could be due to my experience. It could also be due to naivete. But I that is what I think I offer Roland sometimes, and as well as just kind of an artist perspective. I'm not nearly as active as I was, but I still tend to approach things with a creative mind, and I do work with a lot of artists now and in my previous role at Serato. So that's, I think, a good perspective to have, and then to be able to work with some of these, technical geniuses who aren't as adept or as familiar with the culture as I can help kind of bridge that gap a little bit.
And before I get into some of the more day-to-day type of questions, that always seems to be an issue with a lot of companies. You do have these R&D guys who can kind of do anything, but they may not necessarily quite understand the culture, if not the market. Have you seen that over the years as well?
Yeah, in talking to artists, we've heard that, and it's interesting getting to know some of the engineers in many companies. They're obviously going to be technically very brilliant, but their own cultural background will be very different. Like if you're creating a product for DJs, for instance, it's astounding how oftentimes the engineers aren't, well, they're just not DJs at all. They might not even listen to DJ music. They might be into brass band music or progressive metal or something totally different. But in a way, it allows them to bring fresh ideas to the table. And then we, as the kind of cultural ambassadors, help balance that out a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so given the circumstances, how are you adapting in the day-to-day?
Me personally?
Let's say work-wise.
Work-wise, so yeah, it's been interesting. There's one project that I've been working on for a long time. It's called the Roland Cloud Academy. It's an online learning platform that we bundle with certain products or DJ products to start. And it just so happens that I had my sleeves rolled up in bringing a new phase of that program to market. And then, everything happened and everything went online at the same time. So it's interesting that my job has shifted focus to that platform a lot more in developing curriculum, supporting new products. And also a lot of those classes are tied to product registration, but I've been really pushing for classes that are offering general knowledge specifically on live streaming, because my phone's been ringing off the hook. We make a variety of live streaming equipment for the consumer as well as for the professional. So, and it became very obvious to me that you have a legion of DJs and musicians, teachers, pastors, et cetera, many of whom are technically adept, especially DJs and producers. But when it comes to streaming technology, they have no idea, right. So creating this program to help bring some knowledge around general live streaming, that's been something that I've been quite busy with. And we're going to be launching actually next week. We'll be launching that program.
And for the last couple of years, Roland has been very adept at realizing the integration of the production side of things to the DJ market. You guys do a lot of software, you do education, you obviously very well known for hardware. As a company, how does that philosophy manifest itself into actual products and services?
Well, yeah, I think, let's just talk about DJ controllers to start. I mean, the field is so crowded. There's an array of amazing controllers out there. And Roland, I think, in discussing us entering this market, we really had to bring something unique. And I think for us, that is our production acumen and technology. So it's been a really interesting journey. It always, especially with DJs, it takes time for DJs to embrace new technology. And it's interesting that, because it's kind of for me, it feels like a little bit of a paradox. DJing is this totally left field idea, and this culture is developed around using technology in ways that it wasn't meant to be used. Yet at the same time, I think DJs have sometimes become some of the most conservative people out there when it comes to, it takes like 3 or 4 years for people to catch on and accept things. And that's been an interesting journey with our products. And we are, I think we've had a lot of success with it over time, but it's been an uphill battle at times, getting people to open to new creative techniques. It's not just one record after the other. It's that plus adding drums and remixing techniques and other instruments, et cetera. One little silver lining is this stay-at-home time. We're working with so many more artists now who have time to delve into these features. So as an example, like A-Track is using his TR-8S all the time now, his drum machine, syncing it to his DJ sets and creating routines. He's going live today on Twitch, and he's been doing all kind of videos. So that's been, one small development, I guess, in this stay-at-home situation.
That's been an exciting thing. We've done a daily blog. We call it Life in Lockdown, and we've been talking to a couple of DJs. We have like 100 of them responded, and we'll be putting out these blogs every day. And that's the main commonality with all their responses, is that they have more time in the studio. They're figuring more things out, a lot more trial and error. I was talking with a fellow from Waves Audio recently, and they're obviously a studio related company. He was explaining that he was getting a lot of reaction out there as well. You guys make performance and studio products, so you're in a unique position these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And also with the streaming gear, I mean, it's integrating all those things together. I think as a company, we're in a lucky place to be able to offer an array of services and equipment that speak to the current situation. And on that point too, the performance and production kind of coming together. Right. Jim, you've been around a hot minute, as have I, and I think it's quite cool that we make equipment that harks back to the early days of music production, where it was very much in the moment. improvisatory oftentimes, making things live off the board, live with your gear, what they call DAWless jamming. To be able to offer equipment like that and connect DJ culture with that original kind of aesthetic of production is pretty cool.
And a lot of times we find that sometimes the products that do the best aren't the first ones, they're the second ones. It's not, I forget who said it, but it's not who did it first, it's who did it second. And I think that was certainly the case with Serato.
I was going to say, Serato's a great example of that.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I didn't want to let you go without maybe embarrassing you just a little bit. I've had some time on my hands. I've been going through a lot of my old vinyl, and look what I found.
Oh,
that's from 2000, and that's your track, Can't Take It. Definite weird techno vibe with some R&B vocals over the top, and a nice little set of notes inside with the PR that talked about how difficult it was to make the track and how Craig was calling you up and saying, "Where's the track, man?" And your answer was, do you remember making this?
I remember making it. I don't remember the press release, but I'd be
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm a slowpoke in the studio, and I've probably been doing that for 20 years. And it's my production process has always been trial and error. Let me throw a whole bunch of things together and see what sticks. And that's certainly that track right there. It's got techno, it's got scratch, it's got hip hop in it, it's got dwelle R&B. Funny story about that track. There's a scratch in it, tying Queens into this. Large Professor,
right,
looking out the front door. And, in my role at Serato, I got to meet him and hang out with him a couple times. And, I finally fessed up. I was like, "Hey, man, don't take me to court, but I cut you on this track," and I played it for him. And he was just like, "Whoa, this is so weird. It's cool."
Yeah, well, I live about 5 blocks from the Queensbridge project. So Marley Marl and all the guys from the Juice Crew are from right down the street. So, yeah, definitely the Queens neighborhood where I live has turned out a lot of great music. Want to ask one last question about just the general situation and what you've learned from it in the time of lockdown. I know things have not been easy on everybody, certainly not for families and so forth, but what have you learned? Is there any uptake from this? Is there anything positive that you can take?
Oh man, I don't want to belittle the situation. I mean, just little things is, there's going to be a lot more great live streamers after this. I mean,
it's true.
I've talked to and really, going in on multicam setups and green screening, and it's a slow process, but I think we'll continue to have some pretty cool live streams. Whether or not people will want to watch them after this, I doubt, but we'll see. I mean, other uptakes is, as a company, I think, with everybody, we're presented with a huge array of challenges, but it really is going to force us, everybody, to think a lot more outside the box and to be able to adjust how we live in this really challenging time, and just in my day-to-day job, we're having to do that, refocus strategy and how we support artists, how we support schools, and also just on a personal level, how we get through this has been interesting, but it's been very, very communal, I guess, which has been good, bringing people together and sort of really reprioritizing what is important. And
reaching out and having a little humanity every day.
Absolutely.
Interaction is important. And I see that every day. That a couple of times I do go out for groceries or, pop over to the bank or whatever I need to do. We're keeping our distance, but people are definitely yearning to reconnect. I can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, not to bang on about the Cloud Academy, but things like that, initiatives like that, where you can connect with people in an online way, but it's still real time and there's dialogue. That's cool, and that's something we're trying to champion more of those platforms.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, thanks so much for taking the time. Good luck and stay safe. And I can't wait to see you in person.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. Take care of yourself, bro.
All right, man. Thanks.